Well, folks, it looks like another conspiracy theory just came true, and this is a scary one. Now, as all of you all already know, in about 9 days, Trump is taking office. And when a new administration takes over, when a new president takes over, the new administration and the new president is always briefed by the previous administration and the previous president. They have all of these briefings basically bringing the current administration up to date on different issues that the previous administration was dealing with. For example, there may be new problems and issues and stuff like that that arise over the time that a certain president is in office. And when that president leaves office, you know, they got to let the president that's taking over, they got to let him know, hey, these are some of the problems we've been dealing with. This is what we know so far. Here's our studies. Here's the research we've done. Here's what evidence we have so far. You know what I mean? Because it's not like all problems and issues are wrapped up with a little bow tie, you know, before a president leaves office so the next president can handle all types of new issues. No, there's overlapping issues that start during one presidency and they move on to the next presidency. And sometimes you don't get to the bottom of these problems or you don't solve them or what have you. Well, over the past couple of days, the Biden administration has been putting out these little announcements about various things they're going to be briefing Donald Trump and the next administration about. And one of these things is very concerning. In fact, one of these things is what was considered a conspiracy theory until about yesterday. That's right. So for years and years and years, people have been talking about direct energy weapons. People have been talking about things like the Havana syndrome. People have been talking about acoustic energy weapons, electromagnetic propulsion pulsar weapons, all types of stuff that sounds like it comes straight out of Star Trek, but it's weapons and technology that actually exist. They don't want to tell you it exists, but the U.S. has access to these weapons, and our enemies have access to these weapons and technology as well. But what's been happening for years is the U.S. denies the existence of this type of stuff. Russia denies the existence of this type of stuff. China denies the existence of this type of stuff. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, all of these countries are working on these type of weapons, and it looks as if they've been using them. In fact, it looks like some U.S. politicians have been targeted by some of these weapons. Now, until yesterday, this was all a gigantic conspiracy theory. Until yesterday, when the Biden administration announced that, hey, this is a very real problem, and we're going to be briefing and addressing this problem. We're going to brief Donald Trump and the next administration on everything that we've found out about this issue. I want to just read you all this quick little post or this statement that was put out there by the White House. We will be briefing the incoming administration on the full scope of ongoing work that should continue, as well as additional areas of focus recommended by the Intelligence Community Experts Panel, which found that a subset of anomalous health incidents cannot be easily explained by known environmental or medical conditions, and that pulsed electromagnetic or acoustic energy remains a plausible explanation in certain cases. As with other health challenges faced by U.S. personnel that took years to diagnose, sustained clinical research and investigative work is necessary to clarify what caused the symptoms to our colleagues, which have been reported, develop effective medical interventions, and prevent future incidents. Our brave colleagues and their families who suffered real and sometimes serious injuries deserve no less. So they went from telling us that this is all a big lie, that none of this stuff exists, to now they're like, hey, this exists. You better take it seriously You need to give the proper funding. You need to do the proper research to ensure that our colleagues are taken care of and that we get revenge. You know what I mean? And it's like, damn, it's crazy how quick, you can go from being considered a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist to, oh, here's the president and the current administration acknowledging that this is real and, hey, you need to keep doing research. You need to keep looking into this because we ain't got to the bottom of it yet. But we know they got electromagnetic pulse ray guns and freaking acoustic energy weapons. Think about that, folks. Really think about that. In most of these cases, these weapons can be used against you and you don't even know. Someone could be sitting behind you, targeting you with one of these weapons, and you won't even know later until you start feeling the symptoms. And once you start feeling the symptoms, it's not like in your mind, you're automatically going to be like, oh my God, I must have gotten hit by the electromagnetic pulse ray. You know what I mean? It's like, this is some crazy stuff. But even acoustic energy weapons, they're using sound waves to freaking throw people off, to literally drive people insane. I am not kidding, folks. Some of the side effects or the symptoms that they're talking about, basically, some of these weapons will drive people to lose their freaking minds, ladies and gentlemen, like literally go insane. Now, when you think of that technology, it's scary. And then you think about some of the other stuff we got going on in America right now. Hell, we got drones flying in the sky. We still don't have any answers as to what that shit is. California's burning down now, so we'll never hear anything else about the drones. But for all we know, the drones could have this technology. They might not be dropping bombs and shooting people out the sky, but they could have some type of electromagnetic freaking whatever the hell this stuff is. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around it. I can't really properly explain it. It's hard to properly explain something that we were told didn't exist until yesterday. But yeah, I mean, it's stuff like you can't wrap your head around. You can't even fathom. You don't even understand that this stuff is a reality, that this stuff exists, but it does. And who's to say that some of this stuff isn't being used against people? For all we know, it could be used against us on a daily basis. But even though this has been considered a conspiracy since, I guess, yesterday, they have been openly talking about this topic. You see, the U.S. government, they have it easy. They're able to have their cake and eat it too. They're able to call you a conspiracy theorist when you discuss a topic, and then they'll turn around and discuss the same topic. Like it's okay. Like you didn't just call everyone a conspiracy theorist for believing in this stuff, but that's what they do. And I can go back to 2022, and they were already having conversations about this on CNN. U.S. intelligence community report says pulsed electromagnetic energy could cause Havana syndrome. This is from February 3rd, 2022. An intelligence panel investigating the cause of a spat of mysterious incidents that have struck dozens of U.S. officials across the globe has said that some of the episodes could plausibly have been caused by pulsed electromagnetic energy emitted by an external source, according to an executive summary of the panel's findings released Wednesday. But the panel stopped short of making a definitive determination, saying only that both electromagnetic energy and, in limited circumstances, ultrasound could explain the key symptoms, highlighting the degree to which the murky illness known as Havana syndrome has remained one of the intelligence community's most stubborn mysteries. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not a mystery. Havana syndrome, what's happening to these U.S. officials, we know what's happening. We want to play stupid. Because if we come out there and we automatically say, hey, we know what happened here, this, and this, then we show our hand. We show that we're aware of this technology as well. Do you think that America is just aware of this technology and they're not building their own? And they're not doing their own electromagnetic pulse ray guns? Hell no. Of course they got this stuff getting built. So, on one hand, they call people a conspiracy theorist for talking about this. On the other hand, they acknowledge it's real, but they act as if they're so limited. Like their knowledge is so limited here. We don't really know. We got to keep investigating. And you can believe them if you want. I'm not going to tell you otherwise. But I believe, and I kind of already know, that we have access to this technology as well. We're working on these weapons as well. So we're not going to sit out here and say, hey, we know exactly what's going on here. We know what you're doing, because we're doing the same thing. So right now, I feel like we're kind of playing stupid. And another reason why I say this is because these discussions are being had. Yeah, they'll shut down people like me and people like you for having these discussions, but they're having these discussions at Homeland Security meetings. In fact, I think it was back in May. It was back in May, right around my birthday, when they had a freaking Homeland Security meeting and they actually talked about these type of weapons. I want to roll this clip really quickly and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
Guys, if your assessments here are correct, these are very covert weapons, aren't they?
That's correct. There's no entry or exit wound. How they're designed is to make the target feel like they're crazy, like they're imagining things.
And you guys also said that these attacks are happening right here in this city. Is that correct?
I mean, there have been some that have gone public with respect to Washington, D.C.
I think it was Mr. Grozev said you spoke to a Russian agent who said that they believe that Americans are using these same weapons on them. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Might that have something to do with part of the CIA's motive to cover up the existence of this tech and these weapons?
That is a very logical possibility.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Gentleman yields. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from New York, Mr. Goldman, for his round of questioning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to our witnesses for being here. Mr. Grozev, I want to follow up a little bit on the interactions you've had with Russian intelligence about these AHIs. And Mr. Zaid, I want to ask, and this is a hypothetical, but I'm trying to understand why our government would try to block information sharing or conceal information that they have. And one thing that comes to mind is whether there's an operational risk to revealing any of the details of their investigation. Is that something that you have come across in any of your work?
There's a lot of reasons why the information might not be publicly released. And I do think that's something we could address more in a classified environment to explain that. But there are understandable reasons why the U.S. government has not revealed much of what it knows.
There's some long-term things that needs to be done in terms of new acts. But in the short term, we need to do things like implement the original Havana Act. Yeah. DOD still hasn't done it. They still have not.
So this is very, very concerning for me. And the fact that this is like at the top of the list, the top of priorities. How many other things have you heard that the Joe Biden administration has to brief Donald Trump about? Not much, right? But we're hearing about this. So this is at the top of the list, okay? This is one of the most important things that the current administration feels like the next administration needs to know about. And we have to question, as the American people, we have to question how much knowledge do they have about this new age tech and weaponry? How can it be used on the general public? Because they say right now, oh, you know, several or all of these U.S. officials from around the globe, they've been affected. Okay, but how can this technology be used against regular everyday people? And is it already being used against regular and everyday people? I mean, I know for a fact that even some local police departments have acoustic energy weapons, maybe not on the level that the military has access to, but they use these things for riots and protests. They'll come out there and they'll play these noises at frequencies that will drive you crazy, hurt your eardrums, damn near make them bleed, and you will literally have to leave the area. So we know that they're already toying around with stuff like that. And it's scary to think that you could get hit with some of this stuff and you don't even know. Someone could be standing right next to you, affecting you with some of this stuff, and you wouldn't know, right? You just wouldn't know. So part of me kind of wonders, because we have a mental health epidemic in this country, right? We have a mental health crisis in this country. And when you know that there's technology and weaponry out there where people are hitting people with electromagnetic pulse rays and freaking acoustic energy waves that are driving people kind of crazy, it makes you wonder, like, how much of this mental health crisis is being fueled by not just what's going on through people's heads, but by, I guess, other factors. Like, we know that a lot of the medicines and the pills that people are taking are driving people crazy. It's throwing off their chemical balances in their brain and stuff. We know that medication is causing a huge issue with mental health in this country. And now I'm questioning, are there other things at play here as well? And then you have to wonder, what's the future look like? If we have this technology, what does the future look like? What's stopping someone from targeting the president with this? How easily can people get their hands on this technology? I mean, there's so many questions. There's so many questions, but I'm glad that the problem is no longer considered a conspiracy. I mean, even though people will still look at me as a conspiracy theorist for acknowledging what's in official government documents and the official government meetings they're having, I'll be considered the conspiracy theorist as usual. But here it is, right out in the open, people. You can either turn a blind eye to it, or you could start doing research, because by the time this stuff is used on us, it's going to be too late. And maybe it's already too late. But for now, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.